Welcome to Hotline 21. I'm your host, Bruce Jackson, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the church and how this church has been incredible with the history. Now, we had St. Albertine Church on the air last year, and we've got some great progress to talk about. And I've got Margo, it's a pleasure to have you back again.
Pleasure to be here.
And Margo, I want you to give me a little bit, it's a very hot topic, but give us a little bit of what's been going on with the church.
Well, what's been going on with the church is that we have organized a Society of St. Adalbert, which is a nonprofit dedicated to saving this beautiful church. We're registered in the state of Illinois, and we have 501c status pending. And so this church is just minutes from the studio.
Now, when you're talking about it, can I show them? Because it's just not, my understanding, it is not just a church. It is an entire campus. And they need to kind of see this and kind of walk them through it, can we?
Great. We have drone footage of the entire campus, and it does consist of the church.
Okay, let me get this up.
The church, the rectory, the convent. There's a school, which is now a charter school, a parking lot, and another lot. And as soon as you can see this fantastic footage. So St. Adalbert's, so here you go. Here's the church. You can see the towers, which are 180 feet tall.
Let me start with the video.
So that's the interior of the church. It's done in Italian basilica style. The towers are 185 feet tall, which is the tallest structure anywhere for miles.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. Isn't that a beautiful shot?
It's a wonderful shot.
Gorgeous. That is based on design of St. Paul's outside the walls in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And it was designed by Henry J. Schlacks, who is a very famous church architect. He also founded the Notre Dame School of Architecture. And this church is notable for its use of marble in the interior. And we have one of the previous pictures you saw, a 35-ton Carrara marble altar, a copy of Michelangelo's Pietà inside there, our stained glass windows from Munich. We have one of the largest 1914 Kimball pipe organs that's all original with a double choir loft. We have a Tiffany half dome. So stained glass half dome in beautiful blue in Tiffany over the altar.
I'm gonna try to let me pull these things up because I saw those pictures earlier.
Right. The parish started in 1874, and there was another church on that. They built a smaller church first. This church that you see here, the existing church, was built in 1912 to 1914.
Now, I'm going to pull up some of those images that you were talking about.
Great.
Let's see here.
There you see the roof, the ceiling, which is an Italian Renaissance style ceiling where it's stepped back.
Mm-hmm.
That's, again, in the Polish colors, it's red and white on the interior. You have the carved marble of the solid marble columns on the inside, and we have solid granite marble on the outside.
Okay, we're going to go with the next one.
There's the communion railing, which is original, and so for preservationists, it's important that this railing is still there because in the 1960s, many of the railings were removed. Okay. There you have a beautifully carved pulpit with the apostles, all carved in marble, with the windows behind, some of the stained glass windows. and you see the organ, the pipe organ, and one of the two choir lofts. And then right in the middle is the rose window, which is stained glass that represent the lives of a saint.
It's beautiful.
Some more close-ups on the windows. And there's the Pietà. So it's Michelangelo's sculpture showing Mother Mary holding the body of Jesus after he was taken down from the cross.
What do we have here?
We have a fisheye view of the altar, which is the 35 tons of, you see the spiral columns and behind the altar. And you can see the Tiffany half dome at the very top, the blue in the top, right north of the, above the painted clouds. That's where the Tiffany half dome is. Then you would see also a mural over the top which shows two very famous scenes of Polish history, which is the marriage of a queen and also the survival of Our Lady of Czestochowa, the painting of that when one monastery was attacked by Swedish soldiers.
Interesting.
And so there's also some sculptures of Our Lady of Guadalupe for the Mexican immigrants that came in the 1960s. So it was primarily a Polish parish up until the 1960s, and then as Pilsen changed, it was majority Hispanic after that.
Now, I want to ask you a question because I'm sure the viewers want to know. What is the Society of St. Albert?
Well, we're a group of people that have organized to save the church. And we have reached out to many different groups to talk to them to see what they're looking for, what they want in terms of how do we save this church correctly. And Julie will be speaking more on that topic. But the current status of the church is that the parish was closed in 2016, and that's after 142 years. But it's closed, but it is still a sacred site. Masses are still said on Sundays in English, Spanish, and the first Sunday of the month in Polish.
And what time is Mass?
It's 8 a.m. for Polish Mass, 10 for English, and 12 for Spanish Mass.
What can you tell us? Can you tell us a little bit more about this church?
So this church has a lot of interest about it from the Polish community and Polish government. We've had a senator from Poland visit the church, the Secretary of State of Poland. We've had the Council of General of Poland in Chicago speaking on behalf of the church, lobbying for the preservation of this great architectural gem. We also have the opportunity to acquire it. It has not been sold yet, and it is the Archdiocese is selling churches. So it is in grave danger, though, and that's what everybody needs to know. But it is still operating as a sacred site, and there is still a great chance to save it.
It's great. So it's still a sacred site.
Yes.
Now, how is it internationally known?
Well, internationally known, we have people from all over the country, all over the world come during Open House Chicago, which is a day where they have all these architectural sites open. People have come over from Germany, from France, everywhere, as well as the Polish people,
Can we
the
go
most
for?
recent immigrants.
We have a caller. We have a caller.
Hello?
Caller, could you state your name?
Yes, my name is Steve. You know what? I remember so much listening to my godfather. He used to always talk about how the older times, people that come from the country, not born here in Chicago, but in the United States, but come from the country and come here, and how they stuck together. They always put money together to do things, and especially contribute to the church. I'm surprised Ray haven't called, but my godfather, which Ray probably heard his name before, and you might have too, Jose Lunar, the Moon. That was my godfather, and
Wow.
yes, he loved to dedicate things of that nature. You always preach and you hear things, those stories. I'm African American. And that's a shame. I wish our culture was like that also, where we stuck together. Those are the old days. But listen, we need to keep things, because if we don't restore things or keep things going in our life, imagine how it's going to be from 20, 30 years from now. But listen, I just had to make that comment because I miss my godfather so much.
Well, thank you for calling.
And thanks
You
for
are a
answering.
pillar of history right there.
Well, that's the only way we got to give back to what was given to us so freely. Younger people don't know anything about these things, and you just got to keep on being redundant, telling things over and over and over and spread it. But again, thank you for taking the call. Let me get out there so I can hear your response.
Thank you. I think we have another caller. Callers, could you state your name and your comment?
My name is Ray, and good evening. Great show. I'm a 7-year-old Vietnam vet, and when I was a young kid...
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for saying that. But when I remember 4, 5, maybe 6 years old, when I was a little child, I went to church to pray to my God. I didn't go to church to look at the pictures or because it was beautiful. You go to church to pray for your God. Although
Amen.
now, don't get me wrong, a good-looking church is all right. But I went to a little church here on the south side of Chicago. You might know of it, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And every Sunday, it was packed with people praying to our God. Not going there because it was a beautiful church. You go to church to pray.
Right.
That's what you go to church for.
You're absolutely correct.
Not because it's beautiful, but like I said, that helps too. But that's what I wanted to say is that go to church and pray. Forget about how the church looks. Just go and pray to your God. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, both callers. Thank you. And they're absolutely right. That's what you go to church for. You go to church for that salvation. Now, I have another. I want to. There's so much stuff here. We're trying to get through this. Can you give me a little bit about the architectural importance of this church?
Well, yeah. I mean, the main fact to consider is that this church is irreplaceable. It could not be built for any cost. It cannot be replaced with this workmanship. But I think what we need to do is get Julie in so she can go on and talk about what our plans are to save this church.
Okay, well, what we're going to do is I'm going to put up the information for the gift house. And the gift house is at 1309 South Kedzie. Anyone want to come in, they get tested. And remember, all of our tests are free. All of our tests are free. And you can reach us if you care to call the 773-522-2420, or you can give us an email at thegifthouse@sbcglobal.net, or check us out on the web, www.thegifthouse.org. And we're back, and we have Julie. And Julie is going to carry us the rest of the way of our show here. And Julie, Margo she had some great images. You have some images too that you want to show. So I'm going to try to pull up those images. But before I pull up, I want you to start talking about what is your plans to save St. Albert's Church?
Absolutely. Thank you, Bruce. So first, the two callers that called, Steve and I can't recall the other gentleman's name, but you both raised some extremely important points. And that is, we used to go to church to worship and pray to our God. Unfortunately, not a lot of people are attending Mass today. I believe in the Catholic faith, only about 25% of Catholics attend church. I believe that's here in the United States. And so when we were trying to figure out how to save this church, we knew that we had to come up with a plan that doesn't rely on just getting more parishioners to Mass. Because if we had enough people attending Mass, this church wouldn't be in the situation that it is in today. So we approached the plan really logically and practically. And as Margo mentioned, we went out into the community to see what they wanted to see with St. Adalbert's. Margo mentioned that this parish has been in existence for 142 years. And so we also thought we have to come up with a plan for the long term, not for the short term. We don't want to find ourselves in the same position that we are today in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. And so what is a viable plan that makes sense, that works for the community, a plan that honors our past, engages the new, and preserves our heritage. And so that's what we've done.
Now, I just want to pause you for a moment. Which one image you want me to bring up first? Here?
You know what? It would be, my eyesight is terrible.
I can't see, that's why I'm asking.
If we go to a different folder.
Okay.
So if you go to this arrow up here.
Okay. Oh, we got to go with it, another arrow?
Go to the arrow.
All right.
And then go to the folder above, right there.
Right here?
Yes. Just double click. And then campus view, right, the second one is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, here we are.
So, little technical glitch there.
See, that's how you know when you're
Teamwork.
getting older, when you can't see. Okay, when you can't see. So we
Exactly.
All
Oh,
right.
okay, that's the one. So,
okay. So I'm gonna put this up. Okay.
Okay, thank
I'm gonna
you.
put this up.
So the picture that Bruce is putting up that you see on your screens in front of you is the church in the center. And you do see that the two bell towers are in scaffolding because they do require repairs. And we're not just talking about the church, it's this entire campus that you see. To the left is the rectory, to the left of that is a big parking lot. To the right of the church, you see a convent, which is a 4-story convent with a beautiful courtyard in the middle. To the right of that, you see a vacant lot. And then all the way at the top of your screen, you see a school. And there is a little bit of a playground to the right of the school. So it is this big campus. And one of the things that we've got from the community was that this entire campus must stay together. The church cannot be separated from the campus because the church cannot survive on its own. Somehow these buildings need to be repurposed in order to generate revenue for the church. And this is really the most incredible part about our plan, is because we are talking about having a revenue generating idea that will generate revenue perpetually to allow revenue for the church, for the sustenance of the church. And it is this fairly new concept in philanthropy, Bruce, which is called venture philanthropy. So you're using a for-profit idea to generate revenue for a non-for-profit
Now,
idea.
let me ask you this. How did you come up with this plan?
This came from the community, Bruce. We had a lot of meetings, and there was a lot of strong opinions, and we basically worked around the guidelines that the community gave us for what they wanted to see for the campus. And so what we have planned for this is to convert the convent into an inn, a B&B, or a house of pilgrimage, if you will. So we will have rooms for rent that will generate revenue for the church and the entire campus. And the reason why this plan works for St. Adalbert's is that St. Adalbert's is 10 minutes from downtown. There's an L stop 1 block away. Pilsen is a beautifully culturally rich and vibrant community.
That it is.
So we know that we can draw visitors to a hotel in Pilsen, price it just a little bit lower than downtown rates.
Well, every plan, this plan sounds rather ambitious, but every plan has challenges.
Yes.
What type of challenges does this plan have?
We have a very skilled board with different skill sets, and we also have an advisory board. The biggest challenges that we're facing right now is that there is a lot of misinformation in the community about the status of the church, and also that there are various other groups that are vying for this church. There's alternative plans out there that include putting a theater in the church, that include putting condos into the convent or apartments, housing into the convent. And while those ideas may sound on their face that they are interesting or good ideas, they're very short-term ideas with no long-term viability, and they are not self-sustaining. So if you put condos in the convent, well, what happens after the condos are sold? The developer would obviously repair the church, but what happens in 10 years if the roof of the church needs to be repaired? Is that condo association going to get a special assessment to collect money to repair the church? I don't think so. And so that's why our plan was really is centered around setting this entire campus up for another golden age.
Okay, we're really gonna have to have you back again, but wrap us up with what is your plan to do with the church? What are you gonna do with the church when your organization gets it? How are you gonna impact and improve the community with it?
Well, we're going to leave the church as a sacred site so that we can continue to have masses there and religious services and any other activities in the church that are consistent with Catholic canon law. The conversion of the convent to a house of pilgrimage will be our main revenue driver that will provide us enough revenue not only to repair and sustain the church, but also to do some wonderfully relevant community programming. The rectory is in much better condition than a convent. We want to initially, in the short term, convert that to a B&B to get some cash flow going. And in the long term, after the convent is converted to a house of pilgrimage, we can continue to use the rectory as a rectory for priests, perhaps retired priests or sisters that can assist with the religious programming for the community.
Julie, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'm sorry to rush, but we have a short amount of time, but thank you.
Thank
you. And for callers who didn't get a chance to get in, we're going to have her back, and we'll do a follow-up to see how things worked out, okay?
Thank you so much.